Hello there, welcome to part 4 of Rebuilding During the Republican Era. Shanghai workers and union reps insurrections of 1926-27 were seen by the Communist Party as organizers as efforts to create the Shanghai-Paris Commune. Activists founded the China League for the Protection of Civil Rights against political repressions by Chiang Kai-shek. Chinese conservatism desired to preserve China's cultural, moral heritage. Liang Shuming called for his generation to rediscover the values of traditional Chinese thought, left a body of scholarship that remains a core source for Chinese nativist thinking today. And there's a picture of Liang Shuming. The leading voice of liberalism, Hu Shi, called for pragmatism or experimentalism. He rejected revolution as an overall system change, and political repression became the primary instrument of the nationalist Kuomintang rule. Here's a picture of Hu Shi. Chiang was criticized for his continued struggle against the CCP in the face of Japan's increasingly aggressive policies. Mao Zedong retreated to rural Hunan, became convinced of the power of the peasantry. Mao saw power seizure in Hunan by the poorest peasants and praised how the village order was turned upside down. Mao made clear violent excesses in the peasant movement were unavoidable and necessary. Urban CCP party cells were wiped out by the Kuomintang in 1927, and many Chinese Communist members became convinced of Mao's strategy. They gained his peasant revolutionary power insight from Peng Pai's Peasant Training Institute in Guangzhou. There's a picture of Peng Pai, and here's a picture of his training institute in Guangzhou. The CCP treatment of opponents was violent and cruel. There were mass trials, accused, humiliation, beaten, forced to wear dunce hats. This is a precursor to the Cultural Revolution that we'll learn more about later. Death sentences were carried out by beheading, and heads were placed on poles displayed in the marketplace. Pretty brutal. Zhu De, a brilliant military general, became one of Mao's closest associates. Mao in 1927 said, "Power comes out of the barrel of a gun." The Revolutionary Army was renamed the Red Army in 1928. There's a picture of Zhu De. Interesting that Zhu De, Mao Zedong, and Zhou Enlai all died in 1976. Zhu De agreed with Mao on 2 points. The CCP needed its own army, and the party should refocus its efforts on rural areas. Jinggang mountain range became the site of the first practical experiments that led to the Chinese path of rural revolution. Chiang Kai-shek's intent was on wiping out the communist threat. And there are the Jinggang Mountains. They're classic outlaw territory ruled by organized bandit groups. The remnants of the Chinese communists fled there after the White Terror extermination campaign by the Kuomintang against the communists. Mao and his followers were battle-hardened and thoroughly exhausted. There was widespread bloody purges followed against the local bandits. Mao and his supporters prevailed. Mao Zedong was named the national chairman in 1931 at the National Congress in Beijing. The CCP imposed a 38% tax on realized harvest, substantially less than the tax imposed by the nationalist government. Mao fell from power in 1932, and Mao's critics resisted his brutal policies of guerrilla warfare and radical agrarian revolution. On October 25, 1934, the Red Army began the Long March to the northwest. It lasted more than a year, walked more than 10,000 kilometers, crossed 5 mountain ranges, and forded numerous rivers. Nearly 90,000 who started, only 8,000 survived. 41-year-old Mao became the party's dominant leader, and the Long March showed the communists' will to survive and persevere. Proof of the validity of the revolutionary cause, but the correctness of its leader, Mao Zedong, and his policies. And that ends part 4 and the videos on rebuilding during the Republican era.